Hi everyone, Adam Steele here. And you can see I've collected a significant amount of gear as a mix engineer, and there's more behind the camera as well. But today's talk is that gear collecting is insane. Now, allow me to explain. You don't need 99% of this. If you're a guitarist, you need one good guitar. You probably need an audio interface like this, maybe a laptop that's $200, one decent microphone, like I've got the Roswell mics around here, like the K47, they're what, $300? And a pop filter, maybe a mic stand, and you're done. You honestly don't need any more than that if you're only recording yourself one instrument at a time. You should probably spend a lot of that money that would have gone on other gear on acoustic treatment. You can see there's the foam behind me. The foam is just the start of it in here. We spent... I don't want to be vulgar and talk about money, but we spent a lot on this place. These are all floating walls, floating ceiling, floating floors. This place is acoustically treated like you would not believe. But we did that first. We did that before almost any of the gear was owned by us at all, because that should be the priority. Now, I'm not just doing this for myself. This is an operating, working recording studio. We can do as many tracks as we like. We can have full bands in the live room. We do all that kind of stuff, and we need quite a significant amount of equipment to make that happen, because it's all about being ready for strange situations when you're a working recording studio. You never know who's going to walk through the door and what they're going to require. Being focused on rock and metal, I got some of these guitar amps over here, which are kind of the most desirable guitar amps that most guitar players would want if they didn't already own them. I've got a whole host of guitar cabinets for the same reason. I've got a couple of house drum kits, because you never know if the drummer's going to bring in a kit where the heads are dead or the kit itself is inappropriate for the session. I've got a whole rack of microphones, but we started out those with a very affordable microphone set. I don't think I've ever paid more than about £500 or £600 for a microphone. The ones that I have that are higher end than that are ones that I have been sent because of the YouTube thing, which is kind of a separate discussion. In that rack over there at the back, apart from maybe the Cranbourne preamps, everything in there is gear that has been bought by me and the studio. There's pretty much no freebies there at all. And then looking in this rack, there's the Audient preamps and the Audient Nero, and that's maybe it. Because everything that I've got over the years has been collecting with gear acquisition syndrome, GAS. It's a sickness. I have spent more evenings on eBay, Reverb.com, Facebook Marketplace than I care to admit. I have spent so many hours looking for bargains, looking for the next piece of gear, the thrill of the chase. So many guitars that I have, all that kind of, a lot of the cabinets that are in the live room have been because I've been going, ooh, shiny. Oh, that's a decent price. Hello, have you still got it? And I would probably have a much nicer car right now if I hadn't done all that kind of stuff. Although when I started gear collecting, I was in my mid-20s, didn't have a house to pay for, didn't have a girlfriend, didn't have a child. I'm now married with a child and a house. So those are all responsibilities that, you know, if I was starting out, I wouldn't have been able to buy half of this stuff. And because this is now my full-time business, I can justify some of this stuff. I can't justify some of this stuff, but I want a lot of the stuff in here, and that's okay. But what it really comes down to, and the reason I'm making this video as kind of an aside and a talk, is that if you want to be happy as someone who's a recording artist or even an engineer, that kind of thing, be honest with yourself about what you want and what you actually need. Prioritize the things you need, even if they're not glamorous, even if they're not sexy, even if they're not, ooh, shiny. Prioritize those things first, because the things that you want are nice to have and they make you feel good for a while, but they will not improve what you do nearly as much as those things you need, like the acoustic treatment, good monitor speakers after the acoustic treatment, because good monitor speakers mean nothing in a reverberant box. 1 or 2 really good microphones that are different from each other, so that you've got kind of this, like, this is my bright one, this is my dark one. Like, if I was starting out now, I'd probably get a Shure SM7B and like a Roswell K47, which between them cost, what, maybe $600? And that compared to like a Neumann U87, which is what, $2,500, $3,000, saved $2,500, got 2 very capable microphones. They might not quite look as good, but you're not at that point yet where anyone you're trying to impress is actually going to care. This is another thing that I learned over the years. I've recorded with hundreds of artists, amateur artists, professionals, people who want to be famous, people who already are kind of famous, and most of them couldn't give 2 shits about the gear you've got. As long as they stand in front of it, like in the vocal booth, they stand in front of the microphone with the headphones on, and it sounds great. If it sounds primo, job done. And you can do that with something like an affordable condenser. You can do that with a good clean preamp like this Audient ID4 that I've got here. I've got the ID24 down here. That one's probably a better option for if you need 2 channels and versatile stuff. Case in point, the Audient ID24 video that I put out a few days ago, maybe a few more days ago by this point, the guitars, the bass, and the vocals and everything on that were all done with this $300-ish interface on a MacBook with software. And the software isn't even crazy expensive. Yes, the vocals used this whole 500 series strip. Vocals used this, which is very expensive, and I wanted a lot of it, but it didn't need any of that. That was just me being fancy, showing off a capability of that interface. And if I was just doing the vocals at home, I don't need that for recording. I can just use the mic straight into the preamp, use a virtual 1176, virtual like Neve saturation, virtual optical compressor, virtual de-esser, all that kind of stuff I can do in software and have done for 15 years. I know how to. I mean, personally, I think that there's like an extra 5% quality to be had with like the outboard gear, with real amps, with real cabs, but it is the last 5%. And so many people when they're starting out recording go, yeah, but I want to be at that last 5%. But the truth is, you're probably not there yet. And I'm not saying that to dunk on anybody or make anybody feel bad. For a long time, I wasn't there either. But I paid my dues the old school way, that I got the bare minimum amount of equipment that we needed to do this. And I used it to the best of my ability. I learned exactly what every piece of gear that I had did, like right down to every last little thing, so I could get the best out of it. And then when we got several clients in and I had a bit of spare money, then I could justify getting the next thing. And at that point, it was what I call the weak link. You look at your setup, you look at your system, you look at what you have, and you go, what is my weak link? Not what is the nicest, shiniest thing that I could buy. What is the worst part of what I do? What is holding me back the most? and what can I get that is the best value for money to improve that. And at first it was acoustic treatment, which, yeah, all right, I'll say the number. We spent something like 40 or 50,000 pounds on the design down here. It took years to pay off, but everything we've recorded in here has been spot on. And, you know, that in itself, I mean, at home you're not going to do that. That's crazy talk. But you might find that things like, if you're recording vocals at home, just getting a couple of king-size quilts and just hanging them up around you while you sing so you don't get that boxy room reflection thing. If those quilts cost you $30 each, that's money well spent. If you've got a guitar and it's ringing at the headstock, getting a couple of hair bobbles for $2 or one of those fret wrap things for $10, that's the best purchase you can buy. If your guitar strings are getting old, spending the money on guitar strings is more important than buying a new pickup. You know, the things that you should be spending any money you have on, if this is your obsession, if this is your one singular drive, are the things that make your life less bad. And you might think, oh, it's all right for you to say because you've got all this lovely stuff, but I didn't have all of this to start with. I really recorded, like, some of the albums that we did. We had a vocal booth where we got double quilts, king-size quilts, and stapled them to the walls as soundproofing, and then stapled some fireproof cloth over it so that was, you know, safer. And that worked an absolute treat. And then we were using an MXL mic, a V67. It's like a $200 mic. Sounded pretty good, and we got some great sounding vocals from that kind of thing. We got an Alesis electric drum kit because we didn't have the money for a great sounding drum room, so we spent the money on Toontrack's Superior Drummer. I think it was Superior Drummer 2 had just come out at that time, and we got an Alesis drum kit, and we got the drummers to play their parts in, so it felt like a drummer. And we got that kit, I think, on eBay for $200. We got our first mixing desk, a Behringer mixing desk. One of the old Euro desks. I think we got that from eBay. Me and Liam drove halfway around the country to get it. I think we paid $250, $300 for that. We kind of needed a mixing desk. That's a whole different video, but that was the start of us being a more professional setup where we could do routing and that kind of thing, which we needed for the quick turnover sessions we were doing. But we didn't buy that we didn't buy that because we were like, ooh, shiny. We bought it for that reason, that we needed the routing at that point. And it was a business decision that, this is over 10 years ago now, we needed something that impressed clients visually, that was big, that brought in more clients. These days in 2023, when I'm filming this, I think that's now entirely irrelevant, but at that time that made financial sense. If we'd spent 30 grand on a desk, that would have been sheer stupidity. For where we were at the time, that would have been a want, not a need. We needed to show off to people that don't know what things like a mixing desk does, when in actual fact we'd just be using one nice preamp because we'd bought one nice preamp into one relatively okay interface for the time and doing the rest in software. Even with guitar stuff, we've got to the point now where the modelling, like this Tonex from Amplitude, you know what? That's what, $300-400 depending on where you are and sales tax and everything. I mean, this sounds 99% as good as my real guitar amps with the real cabs with the real mics. If I'm working with like a technical metal band where the guitar is the absolute everything for them, then they'll come to me, I'll track them with the real gear. It will be an experience for them, and it will be that extra 1% of improvement that for them is the most important thing. But if you're recording with someone where they just want the guitars to sound great, something like this pedal or a Kemper or Quad Cortex or Axe FX or whatever you've got if you've got the mixing skills, you can make that sit in a mix and nobody's gonna know any difference. Because they are good enough now for 99% of applications. If I was writing for a film score or like game music or anything that isn't like just purist rock or metal, I could use a modeler all day long, and that would be something that I could put like closer to the need category than the want category, because that would sound really good enough that no one's gonna know any different. And that's the real important thing. Like, I've got a great mic locker now, and I'm really proud of that, and I'm really grateful to all the people who've sent us stuff, as well as, you know, the mics that we've bought over the years. If I never got another microphone, I'd be happy, because I've got everything pretty much covered in there. But I do still look on eBay for like nice ribbon mics, that kind of thing. I don't have a Beyer M160 right now. I'd quite like one. I've got the Extinct Audio Black Ops ribbon, but I don't have a Royer R121. I'd like one, but I don't need them. Gear acquisition is a disease. It makes us feel good. It makes the endorphins go. But try, if you can, to divert some of that energy from looking for gear to improving your craft and using the gear that you have better. Because if you get to the point where people are really complimenting you on what you're doing with your gear, then it might be time to upgrade something that's a want. And then you've got that kind of thing where you can really jump from level 10 to level 11. But if you've not got to level 10 yet, don't worry about it. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people in the comments saying, oh no, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I've got this really nice gear and it really sounds great and I can hear the difference. And if you can hear the difference, and the difference is making a difference to the people you're giving this music to or voiceover to or whatever it is, then great. This is generally advice for people who've got stuck in that kind of GAS rut. And I know I've done it from time to time, and if someone sent me a video like this, it might help me out to go, oh yeah, probably shouldn't be buying 5 more compressor pedals or 10 more drive pedals or, you know, 17 more ribbon mics or condenser mics or a 19-string guitar or whatever. So yeah, hopefully this does help you a little bit. Really appreciate everybody watching. Thanks to the patrons for supporting the channel and letting me do big rants like this, because it really does help, and it really helps everything go around in here. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.